So the first thing we're going to talk about is current checkouts. And current checkouts require real-time information. So I want to start by talking about real-time license managers versus usage log parser type tools. So FlexLM, Reprise, RLM, DSLS, LMX, and MathLM, these are all license manager types that are collecting real-time data. Every 10, 15 minutes, they're collecting data. And we can show the current checkouts for these types of license managers. These types of license managers, Sentinel, Altium, Windchill, Atlassian, CodeMeter, these are all log file, usage log files that we parse. And so the only thing that we can collect here is historical data. So there is no current checkout reports available for these we call usage log parsers. The majority of the licenses that are being used are all FlexLM, so that should be no problem for you. Why are current checkout reports important? Well, one, to see who is currently using a specific tool. Another reason might be, are there any long checkouts? Do you have people that are hoarding licenses? Or maybe they went on vacation or left the company and left the license, checked out. You can see that in the current checkout reports and do something about it. Another reason might be, are there multiple checkouts of the same tool by the same engineer? So if you have an engineer that's checking out multiple licenses, same tool, you would see that if they're checked out concurrently. Also, of course, if they check them out serially, that would be visible as well. But current checkout means, well, currently checked out if you have multiple checkouts of the same tool by the same engineer. You can also see through these current checkout reports what machines or clients are being used to run the application. You'll also see whether denials are eminent. So anywhere in those red zones where you have almost at capacity or at capacity, those are most likely licenses that could be receiving denials. So you may want to use these current checkout reports to identify potential denial on any of these licenses. You can also see if licenses are reserved or borrowed. We track both borrowed and reserved licenses. If you don't know what those mean, then you probably don't care. But you will see in the current checkout reports reserved and borrowed licenses. And then lastly, if you need to do a mass email to all current checkouts for a given tool, maybe you're going to take down the license server, or you just want to get the word out to everybody that's got it currently checked out, there is a mass email button. Of course, this does require that you are connected to Active Directory. So these are all reasons why you would want to use the current checkout reports. There are three kinds of current checkout reports. There is the current overview table, there is the current gas gauge display, and then there are current checkout details by tag or by feature. And we'll look into these a little more carefully. There are three ways of accessing these reports. You can access it through the 8181 port, which is the main port that you do come in with the username and password on. There is the 8182 open port, which basically takes you to a select set of usage tabs. I believe there's 6 tabs available in the 8182 open version. The other option is a new in 9.3 8182 restricted version, which essentially takes you to just the current tab, anything under the current tab, but that's it. You can get to these current reports through that as well. What we suggest, and you'll see in a number of these slides, I've got this BP, which stands for best practices. So these red little notes at the bottom are going to kind of give you some best practices hints on how to use this. And so we're saying save each of these, meaning the 8181, 8182 open and 8182 restricted, as a separate favorite in your browser, because you're probably going to want to come back to these from time to time, and it's just easy to do that. And you can call them, whatever you want. You can call them this if you like, as your favorite name in your browser. So let's look at the current overview report and what's included in that. So this is a table of all features currently checked out, and there is an option to show just the features that are currently checked out, or you can show currently checked out and not zero checkout features. So all of the features that are currently not checked out, you can see the whole list if you like. There's an option on that. I'm going to go to the actual product here in a second and show you that. The overview table also is where you would see reserve licenses, if any. The overview table has a filtering box at the top, so these tables can get very, very long. If you're monitoring multiple daemons, you could have 100 or more features currently open in that, but you can filter down to what you want to look at. There's the general filtering box at the top of the table, and then there's a filtering by column. We call it toggle column filters, and that allows you to filter by any of the headers, any of the column headers. And that's true, by the way, of all of our table reports. If you want to see the actual detail, you can click on the feature name and look down into the detail of who has that feature checked out and for how long. You can sort by clicking on any column heading. Again, that's true of any of our tables in LAMUM. You can see the usage percent, which is number checked out versus capacity. Pretty simple calculation. And that's color coded by percentage of capacity, and you can change the colors or you can change the percentages to whatever level you want. There is at the bottom of the current overview page a button that lets you edit the color or percentages. I'll show you that when we get into the product. You can also, from the current overview table, select specific features that you want to show as gas gauges. So you may only want to see, a certain type of gas gauge. You can select those in the overview table, and then those will be presented as gas gauges. Also, this overview table is what gives you access to the new restricted view, which is current only restricted view. I'll show you that. Auto refresh is available on the overview table. If you want to just leave that open and have it updated every 30 seconds, you click on auto refresh and it'll update itself, showing you the most current checkout levels every 30 seconds, although it's not going to change unless you've had an LM stat conducted. Usually that's every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, whatever you have that interval set at. Then it will update the view. And the URL of the current overview table is available as an on-demand hyperlink. So if you copy and paste that URL, you can save that as a favorite, of course. You can save it into a dashboard. We'll talk more about that in a minute. A couple of best practices comments here. You should filter the table to see the usable set of features that you want. So you may only want to see a certain vendor or a certain tool across multiple license servers. So use your filters to get to the exact feature list that you're looking for. And then you can use you create gas gauges that way, and you can save those gas gauges pages for immediate access on-demand reports. The gas gauges can be set by tag or by tool. So let's go live to the product here. I'm going to jump off this slide presentation now and go to the live. So this is this happens to be 9.3, and I'm in the current tab, and that's kind of what we're focused on here. This is the current overview table. This is your filtering box. So if I had 200 lines here, but I only wanted to see MATLAB stuff, notice as I type, it filters the table to get to whatever you want. I can also toggle column filters here, and I can use any of these if I only wanted to see, the MATLAB demo tag, or you can, change this to by the filter. You're filtering the table by a column, by feature name, by tag name. You wouldn't do it so much for these, but so there's all kinds of ways of doing that. So I'll just reset that, and I can take off the toggle column filters. But again, this is true of all tables within LAM. If you're not aware of that, you can filter by the general filtering box, or you can filter it by the column heading. You can also sort by clicking on a column heading. So I'm sorting just based on that. It's alphabetical, highest to lowest, however you want it to do it. So that's true of all of them. The other things that you can do here, the zero use display. Right now, I'm only showing the features that are currently checked out, which is pretty useful. But there may be some people, they want to see everything. So now I've got everything that's not checked out as well. So I have a lot of stuff here that's, zero level. That's the zero display. This is the auto refresh start button. So if you wanted to have this screen refreshed every 30 seconds because you're going to leave this open, in the background or something, you just press start and it starts every 30 seconds. It's going to go update the data in this table. The other thing that's here now is the new restricted view. And if I click on that, it brings up this new view. This is the 8182. If you look at the URL, it's LAM Monitor Restricted Overview, and it only has the one tab. Notice there's 8182, as you recall, has like 6 tabs across here. But with this now, you can just give this URL out to people if you want, and have them have access to just the current checkout information. And again, once you're here, you can do anything you want. You can look at the details on any of these. You can go to the overview and you can drill in if you want to see current checkout details this way. You can do it that way. So everything's the same except it's just the current view. And again, I can drill in here. You might notice on the overview gauges in 9.3, if you haven't already upgraded, in 9.3 we move the feature name and the tag name to the top so that it now can show the entire feature name and tag name. We did that because before, when it was below there, it would truncate and you wouldn't see the whole feature name and tag name, but now you can. And again, you can do the same thing here in the gas gauge area. If you want to see all the zero use features, you have at it. So you can display it either way now. And so that's kind of an overview of the new current restricted tab. Otherwise, everything is pretty much the same here. I think I've covered everything in my slide show. Let's see, features, checkout was 0. I did, the reserve licenses. I'm sure that here's the reserve licenses list. None of these licenses happen to be reserved, but if they were, you would see here the reserved times of these licenses. Filtering boxes I showed, detail under the feature names I showed, sorting I showed, the color. If you want to change the colors, so if I go back over to here, so these percentages and these colors, if you're not aware of it, you can come down to the bottom right here and edit color thresholds. This just allows you to change the percentages and the colors if you want. And very few people really care, but you can do that with this. The other thing you can do from here, which I did not show, is these gauge display select buttons over here. So if I only want to show, say, gauges on the MATLAB stuff, I can just click the 3 MATLAB features and then hit gauge display, and now it's only showing me the gauges for MATLAB. So you can do that. And then again, this URL can be saved, so it would only bring up the MATLAB current checkout stuff. So that's actually been in the product since 9.2, I believe. Select gas gauge display, access to restricted view. I showed you that, auto refresh, and the URL. So I think I've covered everything now on the table view. It's pretty powerful, and again, I would, as a best practices, recommend that you do set up the gas gauges for specific individuals the way they want to see it. So what I would recommend is you have a meeting with all the relevant parties and say, here's all the things you can do with LAM-UM in the area of current checkouts and show them what I just showed you here, the overview, the gas gauges, specific details, and find out who wants what. Some people, they just might want, this information, the MATLAB current checkout detail on this server. This happens to be the demo2 server tag name. And that's all they want. Great, give them just that URL. So let's go back over here now to our presentation. And yeah, I was just commenting that you can save the gas gauges any way you want and give it to people so they can see just the tools or tags that they're interested in. Gas gauge display, current checkout says gas gauges, colors and percent, the same as the overview table. So, as I mentioned over here when we were talking about, you do get the colors and the percentages here. It's the same as the overview colors and percentages here. So if you want to change them, you change them down here. Let's see. I showed you that you can do zero checkout display of the gas gauges as well. Auto refresh, you don't have to click a button for auto refresh with the gas gauges. It's always on, and it's only going to update at the data collection interval. So whatever you have that set at, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, it's going to go ahead and update these gas gauges. And you'll see them actually update when that next data collection interval is hit. URL available as on demand. Again, if you're in the gas gauge display, the URL here creates the gas gauge display if that's what you have showing here. Detail under the feature name. I think I just showed you that. I mean, it's the same thing. You click on the feature name, brings up the detail. Let's see what else we got here. Detail of his auto scaling. Oh, auto scaling just refers to the fact that we only have, I don't know what this is here, 9 features, but if you have 90 features, it will, depending upon your page setting, it will auto scale. It'll drive these so that it fits into your page, whatever page size you select. That's what we mean by auto scaling. Select feature gauges in the overview. That's what I was referring to earlier. If we go back over here, overview, you select the gas gauges from here, whatever ones you want. You just select and then do that gauge display over here, and it brings up just the ones you want. That's what that means. And if you do plan, the best practices suggestion here is if you plan on keeping a page open all the time, we recommend the gauge display. It's just more useful, and you can have multiple gauge displays. You don't have to have just one. You could, again, break it out by vendor or by tag or by tool name, and just have them open all the time. It's going to continuously be updated. So when you come back to the gauge display, it's going to show you the most current status. That's what that's about. Next one, current checkout detail report. Again, that's a lot of, there's a lot of data here. It's by feature or by tag. And I'll show you the differences here. If you come down here, these are all tags. So if I do MATLAB, well, let's do this one right here. If we do details, details on this demo one right here, it's going to show me all different features that are checked out. Notice there's multiple features in this table. Everything, but it's the same display. It's showing you who has it checked out and how long they've had it checked out. Over here's the detail, total time in use. And again, I can sort by clicking on the column heading and very easily see who has had it checked out the longest. 2 hours, 9 minutes. That's not too bad, but if you do this, you might find somebody who's had it checked out for, who knows, more than 100 hours, which might be a big problem. Of course, if you're hooked up to Active Directory, you can click on that name and you can email that person, you can call that person, whatever you want to do there. Let's try to stick to my So again, if that was by tag what I just showed you. If you're doing it by feature, then you come back over here and again, you can look at the overview table, and these are all specific features, and I can just drill in and see the usage details for that one feature only. So this is just MATLAB on this server, and that's the details for that. And again, any of these views can be saved up here as a favorite. Accessible under feature name in overview, display, or by tag. That's basically saying you can just click on the feature name and it will bring up the table. And you can do that either in the overview table or you can do that in the gas gauge display. Just click on the feature name and it will bring up the detail. If you want to see it by tag, the only place that you can do that is from here. So you have to go down to the tag that you want, and that'll show you everything under that tag. So if you need to send an email to all persons with a checkout, let's go. There's a button here. I don't know if you know this, but this requires Active Directory to be set up and working. But you can send an email off to the entire group of people. So in this case, we have 9 checkouts. So if I said send group email, it would send the email out to all 9 of these people. And then, of course, you could type into the email whatever you want. This can also be saved while we're here. I'll mention it. This is the auto refresh thing. If you want to keep this page open all the time because this is of high interest, you keep this open all the time in the background. And if you have start refresh on, and then this will always be current. So whenever you go back to the view, it'll have the most current list of people that have it checked out. All the times will be correct and so forth. Again, that if you send the email out to everybody, you do have to have Active Directory set up. This also shows borrowed licenses, if any. Remember, the table shows you the reserve licenses, but if you want to see the borrowed, you have to drill in to the detail, and then here's the borrowed column, and you would see the amount of time that that license has been borrowed by that particular engineer. Borrow might mean they've taken it home or something. I have classified as borrowed. I already mentioned the auto refresh is available on that, and there is also on the detail an add to favorites button. So let me explain what that is. So if I come back over here, so in the new version, I believe it was 9.2, we added this favorites button here. So what this favorites button tab is basically a list of all the different reports that you want to get on demand. And so if I want to, let's just say, save that current MATLAB details page as a favorite, I would just click add to favorites, give it a name, MATLAB current. I don't remember what server that was. I think it was demo 3. What I would do is I would add the tag name in there and then just say add report. So I can get this report on demand now just by going to the favorites tab and click link, and it brings up that report. So again, you can have it either way. You can have this page open all the time in the background, and if I did, then I'd want to click auto start. Otherwise, I might just say, oh, I like this report and I want to get it on demand. Now, I'll talk about on-demand reports in a minute. One way is just go ahead and save that URL as a favorite in my browser. So whenever I come back and I click on that favorite, it's going to bring this page up. The other way is to save it, as a favorite over here. So let's see to recover. Oh, the other thing that's in the detail is the remove. The remove is only for FlexLM licenses, and it basically gives you the ability to, let me go back to a detail again, go to any one of these. The remove button here enables you to execute the LM remove command for FlexLM licenses, take the license away. There's a couple of considerations here. Now, before I drill into the remove function, let me just remind you that you can click on any of the column headings and sort and filter, by that. And I can also filter. I've got the general filtering box. I've got the column filters here. So you have the same capability for filtering and navigating to the data that you want to see. Some of these tables can be very long. I mean, you might have 50 people with this particular feature checked out, and you can see them all here, but you might want to filter it to along one of these lines that you want here. So I think I've covered everything under the detail. I want to drill in on this remove function a little bit more. It's very useful if you've got people that forgot to return the license, they're on vacation, they've left the company, or they're just not responding and holding out a license, hoarding it, and you need to get it returned into the pool. That's what the remove button is for. So let me go into a little more detail. So it's for FlexLM only. It gives you the ability to execute the LM remove command if you have proper permissions. You must have permission in order to execute the remove function. And there's a couple of comments in here that I've added. The LM admin by default restricts this access to non-FlexLM administrators and must be specifically told to allow this access by command. So you've got to enable the LM admin, give yourself permission there, and then the LMGRD by default allows access to the LM remove command, but provides startup arguments to disable them. So you're dealing with both LM admin and LMGRD. If you're familiar with FlexLM and how it works, you should be familiar with LM admin and LMGRD. If you want more information on how to set up the remove function and give yourself permission to use it, there's an app note up on our website. I'm not going to open that up, but if you want to go to the Team EDA website and go to resources and just do the search for remove, it'll bring up this app note, and it explains how you set this up. Some of the requirements don't have anything to do with LAMUM. You need to go into the LM admin and LMGRD functional guides and make sure that you are listed with proper permission to execute this command. Because if I come back over here and I click the remove button, it's asking me for certain information, and you need to have that in order for that command to work. So it's not just a simple matter of clicking remove, and you obviously don't want everybody to have that capability. So you do need to follow the procedures and the guidelines to set up for using this. Before you execute a remove button, best practices suggest that you send an email to the user first with a warning. In case they're in the middle of a project and you pull the license from them, they might be kind of mad. So I would send them an email and say, we're going to pull your license back, within the next couple of hours. If not, please give us a call, whatever you want to say. Just send them an email and let them know. And again, the way you do that is you can just click on their name here. Like, I'm going to pull this license. I can just go to Rodriguez and click on his name, and it takes me right into Outlook. And I can send them a note. We're going to pull your license, whatever. It's just a courtesy, before you actually, send out the execute the LM remove command. It would be wise to give them a heads up. So that's how the LM remove function works. I want to just comment talk about best practices here. We do have customers that have this command center look thing going on, and we don't sell these. These are just happen to be 65-inch displays. They have mounted up on the wall. One of them is showing the table. I actually took this picture long before we had the gas gauges, but what I would recommend is you can have one display set up to rotate through different gas gauge displays automatically, like every 10 seconds, every 15 seconds, you can rotate through another set of gas gauges in the background. We do have a white paper up on our website that explains how you set up these. In this example, they've got one set up for current checkouts. and they have another one set up for alerts. So if they're getting any alerts, they come through on this screen here. Totally up to you if you want to set this up. This is only practical if you are centralized. And again, it works well for gas gauge displays and alerts. Again, we don't sell this configuration. You can do it, and there is this white paper up on our website that explains how you do it. So let me drill into the 8182 restricted view a little bit. I mean, we've already kind of talked about it, so I don't know that we really need to spend a whole lot of time on it. You have to be at 9.3 in order to get it. We had a lot of customers that only wanted people to have access to the current checkout tab only, so that's why we created this. Notice, as I showed you real time, it's just one tab, and it says current parentheses restricted. It says that right there. So no, all the current views and functions are available through that current restricted view, but no other usage reports are available unless you want to give them the 8182 URL, just the open URL, or the 8181 URL. So this limited view, restricted view, is ideal for engineers and managers interested only in current checkout status. So keep that in mind. If you aren't at 9.3, though, you need to upgrade. So let's switch over now and talk about on-demand reports. So there's essentially two kinds of reports. There's on-demand, and then there's batch reports. Actually, there's a third category that's interactive, where you can just go in through 8181 or 8182 and kind of browse around until you find the report that you want. That's, quote, the interactive method. But then there's these on-demand reports. On-demand are reports that are frequently needed, but they're not routine. You don't necessarily need them weekly, monthly, but you're going to need them during the day, several days apart, whatever. And the need for on-demand is going to vary by person, type, and responsibility. So you can't assume that one set of on-demand reports is good for everybody. Everybody is going to need a different set of reports. So best practices would suggest that you meet with all interested parties and do a demo for them, show them all the possible reports, what's available on demand, and then discuss delivery methods, because there's three different ways of getting on-demand reports. One is saving the URL as a favorite in your browser. That's pretty common. If you want to save it in your browser, you can certainly do that. Just bookmark it, give it a user-friendly name, and anytime you need it, you just go to your bookmarks and click on it. The other is the new favorites tab, which I've already mentioned. So if you want to centralize all of your on-demand reports in one place, you can just put them all under the favorites tab. And then the third option would be to create user dashboards. And I'll talk about these in a minute. But the key point here is the need is going to vary by person type, with the response and what the responsibility is. So you might have certain on-demand reports for engineers. You might have certain on-demand reports for a CAD manager or an engineering manager, an IT manager. They might all have different needs. So you need to show what's possible to that group. I mean, you could have separate meetings, or you can have one big meeting. It's totally up to you how you would implement this. But then show them what's possible and talk about the three methods of delivery and let them choose the delivery method. Naming conventions is another issue, and you need to try to establish beforehand a naming convention that you're going to use for all your on-demand report names. Again, the on-demand report is created through a hyperlink, but you've got to give that hyperlink a user-friendly name. And so naming conventions is very important. So let's look at these three methods here. The favorites tab we already talked about, where you can centralize favorites in one place, which might be perfectly fine for your company. The favorites tab is available in 81, 81, and 8182. It's not available in the 8182 restricted view. Okay, and I just talked about this a minute ago. Establish a report naming convention that makes sense for everyone and everyone uses. So this is kind of up to you to impose a nomenclature or a naming convention that's good for everybody. And I mean, I could go on and on about, could be tool first, tag name first, and what the report does, or you can do what the report does and then the tool name. It's totally up to you, but think about it up front and establish a naming convention that makes sense for everyone and everyone agrees to and will use. Otherwise, you get on-demand reports that are just nothing standard. And best practices suggest that you try to standardize on the naming convention. Makes everybody's life easier. Then you got the favorite in your browser approach. Again, you can save any report URL as a favorite, and you can send that URL, which again is a hyperlink, very convoluted, complicated looking hyperlink, and you do want to try to give it a user-friendly name using the naming conventions that we just talked about down here. Any browser will work, but we recommend Chrome, Firefox, or Edge. It seems like IE is sort of dead, but some companies are still using IE. It's important that you rename the hyperlink. You're going to save the URL, which is a hyperlink, and you're going to rename it to something more user-friendly. And hopefully you know how to do that in your browser. The last way of saving on-demand reports is through the user dashboard, which is essentially the same. It's like saving any favorite, except you're saving the hyperlink into a approved company medium. Okay, when I say approved company medium, I mean like you can save it into a SharePoint doc, a Google Doc. You can create a wiki, company wiki. You can save it into a PDF, a Word doc, or PowerPoint. Doesn't really matter where you save that hyperlink, except that the medium must allow renaming of the hyperlink to something user-friendly. Again, renaming using the agreed-on naming convention. And so essentially you're saving these hyperlinks in an offline document that works the same way. You click on the hyperlink, which is the user-friendly name, and it brings up the report that you want. The only complication, the only caveat on using the dashboard approach is that the dashboard, that hyperlink includes an IP address for the current LAMUM server. And if for some reason you have to go in and change the LAMUM IP, you will have to go in and change the IPs in your dashboard. You're just going to have to remember to do that. I mean, most often people don't change the LAMUM IP address, but if you do, you'd need to go in and update the hyperlinks in the dashboard. That's the only caveat on the dashboard. Suggestions for implementing dashboards. Again, same thing. Have a meeting, either one big meeting or multiple small meetings with the interested parties, and review what reports are available and the various mediums that are available back here, these mediums, and see what they want to use. Demonstrate the generation time. So what you want in these on-demand reports is you want reports that are going to generate quickly. I say in less than 10 seconds, because if it's going to take too long, that's not good. They're not going to use it. So during that meeting, people are going to say, yeah, like that report, I want to put it into the wiki, or like that report, let me set that up in a Word document. However they want to do it. Make a note. So when you're doing this, you're going to have a pad of paper available so you can make notes, who wants what and how. And then when you create these dashboards for them, I mean, ultimately they can create their own and maintain their own dashboards, but up front you're going to have to do it for them. Create an outline. These are current checkout reports. These are heat maps. These are 7-day usage graphs. Whatever reports they want, I think it makes sense to create an outline format so they can quickly get to the reports that they want. And there's no limit in these dashboards. You could have hundreds of links. Doesn't really matter. But make it simple and easy for your user community. And these are just typical reports that you could have in there: checkout reports, heat maps. You could have vendor specific reports, like I want to see, 7-day MATLAB usage, whatever. You can have whatever reports you want. That's another way. On your outline format, you could have broken out by vendors. So these are all my cadence reports. These are all my Autodesk reports. These are all my, however you want to set it up, but try to use some logic in doing that. And then there is an app note up on our website, again, teameda.com/resources, and do a search for dashboard. And there is a document up there called Creating User Dashboards. That's the link to the document. Please look at that, and it'll help guide you in the creation of these dashboards. So again, there's favorites tab, the favorite in your browser approach to on-demand reporting, and then there's the user dashboard. So let's go. We talked about that. So just general guidelines on on-demand reports. On-demand reports should generate in less than 10 seconds. I just mentioned that. So anything that you're considering for on-demand, just run it and see how long it takes to generate. And if it's taking 10 or 15 seconds, it's probably okay. But if it's anything longer than that, you might want to set up as a batch report, so it's generating overnight, so people don't have to wait for the report to show up. Again, these are all typical reports that are good for on-demand. Any of the reports by tag. So if I go back over here and go back to home, so any of these reports over here are good for on-demand. I would not use any of these combined or comprehensive reports over here, because these just take too long to generate. Again, you can run it in your company and see how long it takes to generate, but you're going to find that these reports just take too long to generate as a on-demand report. These are pretty quick, and some of them are really fast, plus all the current stuff. All the current stuff is really fast, so any of these can be good on-demand reports. Yeah, and time periods, if you are picking historical reports, try to stick with 7-day or 30-day. If you start getting into, longer, 90-day, 180-day, it takes too long to generate. So stay away from longer periods. It just takes too long. Do not use specific time periods. You don't want, to say, I want to report from December 15th to, December 30th, because it's always going to generate that exact report over and over. So clearly, don't specify a time period using those custom fields. Use the rotating fields, which, again, if I just do any of these reports here, use these time periods up here. These are rolling time periods. That's what you want to use. You don't want to use any specific time period like that or that. Don't stay away from that one, and I would stay away from year to date, because again, that's just going to be a specific time period. But again, try it and see how long it would take. That's what you need to do. Do not use specific time. Okay, so best practices, again, says that different people are going to need different reports. So you're just going to have to, meet with different people and decide on what reports they want and how they want them. Agree on delivery method and naming conventions. I mean, you need to do that so it becomes more usable. My recommendation, again, from a best practices point of view, would be to try to use the favorites tab. If you want to centralize all your favorites, teach people how to save a report as a favorite in their browser. That's pretty straightforward. And if you want to use the dashboard, that's if you want to establish more of a wiki approach to creating on-demand reports. Again, this has nothing to do with batch reports. We're going to cover batch reports in another session. So this is just reports that can generate in less than, say, 15 seconds. Oh, we've already talked about all that. General tabs. Oh, let's see. I think we've covered everything now. The general guidelines on demand reports. Just as a practical suggestion on how people use the UM side, the usage monitoring side of LAM UM. I'm not talking about the LAM side. That's a different animal, different function. But on the UM side, I'm kind of guessing, and it's going to vary from company to company, but you're probably going to spend about 30% of your usage on current checkout details, those three reports, the overview, the gas gauges, and the details. You're probably going to spend about 50% of your time looking at historical reports, last 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, and so forth and so on, analyzing usage over time, looking at trends. And these are going to be weekly, monthly reports. They're the batch reports. And you're particularly going to look at historical usage when you're getting close to renewal time. So you have to look at, okay, I'm going to be renewing, next month. So you want to start looking at your usage and your trends and try to determine how many licenses you need about 60 days, starting about 60 days from your renewal or remix date. So some customers renew every 2 years, but they remix every 6 months. So you're going to need to use these history reports to help you decide, what your needs are. I would say starting about 60 days out, certainly 30 days before the remix or the renewal date. And then you'll spend maybe out of all the time, 10% of your time, you'll be, messing around with alerts, batch reports, and dashboards, maybe more in the beginning. But after they're all set up, you probably don't have to do too much maintenance of these things. And then probably 10% of your time as an admin, putting in new licenses, maybe changing license servers or tag names or something, adding users, feature names. This is the feature name aliasing thing, which you can go in and change from time to time. Again, this is more maintenance stuff. And then over time, your database is going to grow. So when you start seeing your backups, your LAM backups, getting above 4 or 5 gigabytes, you're going to want to do some database reduction stuff. We have a couple of different mechanisms on that. We're not going to talk about that today, but I consider that to be like a LAM admin function. So as a general rule, best practices, we recommend that you have a full-time LAM admin if you are running more than 20 daemons, more than 500 engineers. If you're below that, you can, administering LAM is a part-time function. It's not a full-time function. But when you start getting into, more than 20 daemons, and we have customers with over 50 daemons, they almost all have a dedicated person managing LAM. They become LAM admins. So it's either the number of daemons or the number of engineers. You decide at what level you need to consider a full-time LAM admin. But I will tell you that in the larger installations where they have one dedicated person, they're getting a lot more out of LAM than if you have just a part-time person, using it, which is very, very, very common. And of course, if you have any questions on how to use LAM or LAM feel free to contact Team EDA. We have a ton of stuff up on our website under our training videos. Our documentation up there must be 50 or 60 different kinds of documents on how to use the tool. But the whole purpose of today's meeting is really to help you get more out of LAM your LAM investment. And today's focus was on current checkouts and on-demand reports, and this will be posted by the end of the week. You can always come back here and review this if you want. Our next session on best practices is going to be what are the best historical usage reports, and because there's like 100 different reports available on a historical usage. So which are the the most useful ones, and what do they mean, and how can you use those to make better decisions? That's our next webinar. That's November 4th at 1 o'clock. If you haven't signed up for that, I suggest you do.